Hello everyone, I hope you're all well, and I just wanted to take a quick second at the beginning of this video to just state that I'm a ridiculously massive fan of the original FF7, and of course the compilation titles that go along with it, alongside Remake as well of course. Now the Remake series has seriously reignited my love for this world, so much so that it has pushed me to finally start making videos on the series of FF7, and of course just in general, to be honest, as I've wanted to start making videos for a long time now. But as I take the time to work on a more analytical piece on the relationship between Jenova and Sephiroth, as I work on that in the background, I thought I'd wet my feet, so to say, by putting this guide together on how best to master Cloud in Rebirth. I've really enjoyed playing as him in my most recent playthrough to gather information for these videos, and I found a few pieces of movement tech that really help bring his character together, and he has an amazingly fun toolkit to work with. So, anyhow, nice one guys, hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you learned something new. Okay, so starting off here, Cloud has two modes to switch between, Punisher and Operator mode. Starting off with Operator mode, you can press circle and move your stick in any direction in order to execute a dodge. And you're starting off here with your traditional 5-hit combo in Operator mode, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, ending with an overhead spinning slash for 5. And also at any point in time at the beginning, middle, or indeed the end of your combo, you can press and hold square in order to execute a spinning slash. This is going to hit all the enemies around you, it's going to draw in all the enemies around you that have been hit, and it's also going to be the main attack you use in order to gain ATB alongside your regular attacks. Now for some more defensive options, you can press and hold R1 to block. If you press R1 at the right time for an attack coming in, you'll execute a parry and you won't take any damage at all. Or you can just hold R1 and eat the attack and take a little bit less damage than normal. There'll be a few more things to touch on with the block, but I'll cover that in the Punisher mode section. And now to finish off Operator mode, with your dodge, after you execute a dodge, if you press the square button, you can execute a long-range blade beam attack, and after every dodge you can press the square button up to 3 times to throw 3 beams at your enemy, and it'll do a little bit of damage and also up your ATB if you can't get in close range to your enemy. And also, while you're throwing these blade beams at your enemy, either on the ground or in the air, you can press and hold square and it will home you right into the enemy if you have the ability to get in close range, that is. Right, now that should be it for Operator mode. Now before I move directly onto Punisher mode, just one last thing. In this game, they allow you to set your 4 shortcuts while you're on the ground, but you can also have a completely separate load of 4 shortcuts for while you're in the air. If you want, you can just have the same shortcuts you have on the ground in the air while you get used to it, but eventually you'll be able to change your commands to have 4 different ones in the air if you want to. To give you an example, in this game they allow you to use Counter-Strike while in the air. Now I know that may sound like a bit of a pointless thing, but allow me to show you this clip here and I can show you exactly why something like that might be useful. Right, so here I'm fighting Sephiroth and he does sword dance in order to hit me and retreat into the background there. As he retreats, he uses Zanshin and I dodge into the air. I will show you how to do that dodge into the air once we get to the Punisher mode section. Right, and me retreating into the air causes him to send the next Zanshin beam up towards me. And then there is also a similar thing you can use in Punisher mode in order to retreat from the air back down to the ground, which is what you see me do here. And then as I retreat back down to the ground, he sends the last Zanshin beam towards me, but rather than me eating it to the face, I instead hit with a counter stance because I had it set on my shortcuts for the ground and the air. And then that counter stance allowed me to not just avoid the last Zanshin beam, but also get the counter stance strike on Sephiroth and get the win, which is easily one of my most favourite clips that I've got in this game so far, if you don't mind me saying. So yeah, there you go. There is an example of why it is a good idea to have counter stance set on one of your air commands. I recommend X because it's the easiest one to get to. Right, so that covers all of operator mode. So now we're going to move on to Punisher slash Prime mode. Now this is where it gets interesting. Okay, so you press triangle in order to switch yourself from operator mode to Punisher mode. Now you'll be moving a little bit slower, and if you dodge, you'll revert back to operator mode. Now, in order to take advantage of Punisher mode, now you're just going to want to keep pressing the attack button over and over again to continue an infinite slash. However, at any point in time that you want to end the combo, just take your finger off the attack button and you'll end with a big downward slash like you see here. Now, of course, you're mostly going to be using the Punisher mode slashes in order to take advantage of a point in time where an enemy is either pressured or staggered. But there's one last thing you can use regular old Punisher mode for, and that is holding the square button down either in the middle of or at the end of the combo. You're going to stab the Buster Sword into the ground. It's going to look sick, but it doesn't just do that. It also grants Cloud Fury, so he does more damage but takes more damage for a short period of time. Okay, now last but certainly not least, we're going to be doing the extension to Punisher mode, that is Prime mode. Easily one of my most favourite mechanics added to this game, and one of the best character-specific mechanics I've ever seen added to a character. It really does change the way that Cloud is played, but I will show you that here and now. So let's move on to my favourite part, Prime mode. Right, now let's get into this awesome mechanic that allows me to make Cloud looks like he's playing as fluidly as someone like Virgil from Devil May Cry. Now, Prime mode. Let's get into it. Now, in order to get into Prime mode, you're just going to want to select it from either your ability menu or your shortcut menu if you've got it on there. Once you do that, you'll do 2 quick slashes in front of you, and then you can control Prime mode. However, you can actually press and hold the attack button and Cloud will be controllable before the first slash even comes out, actually. It's just a pro tip. Okay, now that we're out of Punisher mode and into Prime mode, now there are going to be 3 major changes made to Cloud now going forward. While in Prime mode, when you hold down the attack button, rather than doing a single stab into the ground, you will now instead do 3 really strong overhead slashes. Takes a second for them to all come out, but it is incredibly satisfying and it is the best way in the game for you to build up ATB. Now, the second thing that's going to be changed is when you press triangle to come out of Prime mode or Punisher mode, instead of just doing a single slash in front of you, you will now do a spinning slash that takes you into the air. This is the way I mentioned earlier to get into the air. And you can also press triangle once again to come back down to the floor really quickly. And now the third thing that's going to have changed is that when you do the combo string of all of the different slashes from Prime mode, instead of you taking your finger off of the attack button and just doing a downward slash, now we'll do a spinning slash that strikes you through the enemy. I'll have something on the screen now for you to understand what I'm talking about, but it is so great. You can avoid attacks with it, you can reposition yourself to get a good combo off like you see me doing with focus thrust, but it is so effective at making you just that little bit more mobile while you're in Prime mode. Okay, so that'll be it for part 1, guys. Thank you all very much for your time. Now we've broken down most of what Operator mode and Punisher mode has to offer you. If you come and join me for part 2, we'll go into a more detailed explanation and breakdown of what Prime mode has to offer you and all the different intricacies that the mode does, where it changes your movement and everything. But we'll go into a more detailed explanation of that. Now we'll also go into a more detailed breakdown of how blocking and countering works in this game, both inside and outside of Punisher and Prime mode, and I will also further explain what the rest of Cloud's abilities have to offer you, as well as his limit breaks. Thanks guys, hope to see you there.